everybody, welcome to my channel.
Ringo Starr, Biography. Ringo Starr, born Richard Starkey on July 7, 1940, in Liverpool, England, is a British musician, singer, songwriter, actor, and one of the most recognizable drummers in history. Best known as the drummer of the Beatles, Starr's steady tempo, inventive fills, and warm personality helped define the sound and spirit of the most influential band of all time. Early life. Ringo grew up in a working-class neighborhood in Liverpool. His childhood was marked by poor health. He spent long periods in hospitals due to peritonitis and tuberculosis. During his time in the sanatorium, he was encouraged to play percussion instruments in the hospital band, unknowingly planting the seeds for his future career. Before music became his profession, Ringo worked a variety of jobs, including as an apprentice machinist. He learned drums gradually and eventually joined a local skiffle group called Rory Storm and the Hurricanes, where he gained popularity in Liverpool's emerging rock scene. Joining the Beatles in 1962, Starr was asked to join the Beatles, replacing their previous drummer, Pete Best. His arrival solidified the group's legendary lineup: John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr. Ringo's drumming style, steady, musical, and understated, became central to the Beatles' sound. Though not known for flashy solos, his feel and groove were exceptional. Songs like Rain, Ticket to Ride, Come Together, and A Day in the Life showcase his intuitive timing and signature fills. Beyond drumming, Starr occasionally sang lead vocals, including on beloved Beatles songs, Yellow Submarine, With a Little Help from My Friends, Octopus's Garden, which he wrote. He also brought humor and warmth to the band, becoming known as the heart of the Beatles. Solo career. After the Beatles broke up in 1970, Ringo launched a successful solo career. He achieved chart-topping hits, including Photograph, co-written with George Harrison, It Don't Come Easy, You're 16, Back Off Boogaloo. He also became a beloved entertainer outside of music, appearing in films, TV shows, and producing his own projects. In 1989, Ringo formed Ringo Starr and his All-Star Band, a touring supergroup featuring rotating lineups of renowned musicians. The All-Star Band became a tradition, and he has toured with them regularly for more than 30 years. Later life and honors. Ringo Starr has continued to record, perform, and advocate for peace and love, a personal mantra he repeats in interviews and concerts. In 2018, he was knighted by Queen Elizabeth II, officially becoming Sir Ringo Starr. He remains an influential figure in music and pop culture, admired for his upbeat personality and legendary contributions to drumming. Legacy. Ringo Starr's impact on music is enduring. One of the first drummers to elevate drumming as an essential part of songwriting. A pioneer of creative drum fills and left-handed style on a right-handed kit. A cultural icon whose warmth and humor helped shape the spirit of the Beatles. Though often humble about his own importance, Ringo Starr is celebrated as one of the greatest drummers of all time, proof that taste, feel, and personality can matter more than technical flash. Ringo Starr. More details. Drumming style and technique. Ringo's drumming was groundbreaking because of his musicality. Unlike many drummers of the era who focused on speed or flashy technique, Ringo played for the song, not for attention. Key traits of his style: left-handed feel on a right-handed kit. Ringo is naturally left-handed, but he played a standard right-handed drum set. This gave his fills a unique timing and flow, creating unexpected rhythms. Creative drum fills on tracks like A Day in the Life, Rain, and Come Together are among the most studied in rock history. Steady, reliable tempo. Producers often said that Ringo's timing was so solid that they didn't need a metronome. Less is more philosophy instead of cluttering the music. He used simplicity and groove to make the songs breathe. Famous quote from fellow musicians: Ringo has the best feel of any drummer. John Lennon: Ringo was the Beatles' soul. Paul McCartney: influential Beatles performances. Some Beatles tracks where Ringo's drumming stands out. Rain, often cited as one of the best drum performances in rock history. Come Together, swampy groove with minimalist brilliance. Ticket to Ride, inventive drum pattern for its time. A Day in the Life, dramatic, emotional fills that elevate the song. Tomorrow Never Knows, hypnotic beat that pushed rock into psychedelic territory. Ringo as a vocalist and songwriter, he sang lead on several Beatles tracks, often becoming fan favorites. Yellow Submarine, with a little help from my friends, Octopus's Garden, act naturally. He wasn't a trained singer, but his vocals had character and charm, which audiences loved. Songwriting highlights: post-Beatles, Photograph, a #1 hit, It Don't Come Easy, Back Off Boogaloo, solo career and all-star band after the Beatles. Ringo recorded albums that featured major musicians including George Harrison, Elton John, Mark Bolan, Eric Clapton, Billy Preston. In 1989, he launched the All-Star Band, a rotating supergroup with members of classic rock staples like Toto, E Street Band, Santana, and more. The rules are simple. Every song is a hit, and every member is a star. The tours continue to this day. Acting and films: Ringo also pursued acting. Notable films include A Hard Day's Night, 1964. Ringo's natural comedic timing made him a standout. Help, 1965. Caveman, 1981. A cult comedy where he met his future wife, Barbara Bach. He later narrated the original Thomas the Tank Engine series in the UK, earning a new generation of fans. Personal life: married Maureen Cox, 1965 to 1975. They had 3 children, including drummer Zach Starkey, who played with The Who and Oasis. Married Barbara Bach in 1981. They've been together ever since. Known for kindness, humor, peace advocacy, and famously saying, "Peace and love, peace and love." Ringo maintains a vegetarian lifestyle and practices meditation. Awards and recognition: Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, twice, as a Beatle. Then as a solo artist, knighted in 2018. Officially, Sir Richard Starkey legacy: Ringo Starr rewrote what it meant to be a drummer. He wasn't just keeping time, he was shaping the music. His unique groove became part of the DNA of modern drumming. Major drummers like Dave Grohl, Phil Collins, Stuart Copeland, and Questlove list him as an influence. As producer Quincy Jones said, Ringo is one of the greatest drummers in history. Career timeline: key milestones, 1940 to 1959. Early life: 1940, born Richard Starkey in Liverpool. Childhood: severe illnesses keep him bedridden for long periods. Learns percussion in the hospital. Late 1950s, joins Liverpool skiffle and rock bands. Most notable, Rory Storm and the Hurricanes, one of the most popular bands in town. 1960 to 1962, pre-Beatles tours in Hamburg, Germany, the same club circuit as the Beatles. Lennon, McCartney, and Harrison already like him and sometimes ask him to fill in when their original drummer isn't available. 1962. Joining the Beatles August 18, 1962, replaces Pete Best. Immediately records and performs with the new lineup: John, Paul, George, Ringo. 1963 to 1966, Beatlemania becomes a global household name. Films A Hard Day's Night, 1964, and Help, 1965. Songs with Ringo lead vocals become fan favorites. 1967 to 1970. Artistic evolution takes a more active role in songwriting. Writes Octopus's Garden during a brief break from the band. 1970 The Beatles officially break up. 1970 to 1980. Solo success album Sentimental Journey, 1970, launches solo career. Hit singles. It Don't Come Easy, Photograph, You're 16, appears in several films, including Caveman, 1981, meets future wife Barbara Bach, 1989 present. Ringo Starr and his all-star band forms the All-Star Band, an ever-changing lineup of rock legends. Tours almost every year, becoming one of the most enduring live acts in classic rock. 2015 and 2018. 2015 inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a solo artist. 2018 knighted by Queen Elizabeth II, Sir Ringo Starr. Musical notes major collaborations Ringo is loved by other musicians. His albums feature George Harrison, co-wrote Photograph, Elton John, Eric Clapton, Billy Preston, Harry Nilsson, Tom Petty. Members of the band Jeff Lynne, Ello, in the All-Star Band. Former members have included member band Joe Walsh, Eagles Peter Frampton, solo artist Steve Lukather, Toto, Clarence Clemens, E Street Band Sheila E. Prince. Collaborator Ringo Starr is essentially the center of a musical universe. Bold drumming innovations. Here's why drummers worship him. Melodic approach. Ringo thought like a songwriter. His parts supported emotion, not ego. Offbeat hi-hat openings. Very subtle technique that gave songs a loose, human feel. Revolutionized fills. A Day in the Life and Rain are studied in drum schools worldwide. Feel. Flash. Ringo didn't dominate the song, he served it. Dave Grohl, Foo Fighters, said, Ringo was the king of feel. Mike. Personality and humor. Fans and bandmates adored Ringo because he was self-deprecating, funny, grounded. He kept the Beatles emotionally stable during difficult periods. John Lennon once said, whatever problems we had, Ringo was always stable. Ringo's sense of humor was so natural that many critics said his acting in A Hard Day's Night looked like he was born for film. Party popper. Fun trivia. He invented the peace and love hand gesture mantra associated with him today. His iconic drumming on Rain was slowed down on the final recording, which gave it a dreamy feel. First Beatle to have a solo #1 single after the breakup. Narrated the first Thomas the Tank Engine TV series, making him beloved by children who had never heard of the Beatles. Plays drums standing up sometimes during all-star band concerts. Trophy legacy. In one sentence, Ringo Starr turned drumming from background timekeeping into musical storytelling. He didn't aim to be the flashiest drummer, only the most musical. And that's what made him timeless. Ringo's role inside the Beatles. While much of the world focused on John and Paul as songwriters and George as the quiet mystic, Ringo was the glue, emotionally, psychologically, and socially. He balanced the band. The Beatles went through tension, ego conflicts, and creative disagreements. Ringo remained the calm center. He wasn't competitive about songwriting credits or attention. He simply wanted to play drums and make music with his friends. George Harrison once said, "We all loved Ringo. He was the easiest to get along with. Emotional backbone during stressful times. It was Ringo who helped keep the group together." When he briefly left the band during the White Album sessions, 1968, the others panicked. When he returned after 2 weeks, his drum kit was decorated with flowers spelling, "Welcome back, Ringo." This moment proved how much they depended on him. Handshake Ringo's relationship with each Beatle dynamic with Ringo. John Lennon. John loved Ringo's humor and timing, both musically and comedically. John once joked, "Ringo is not even the best drummer in the Beatles," but this was a fictional joke mistakenly attributed to him decades later. John sincerely admired Ringo's feel. Paul McCartney. Paul respected Ringo's precision. Their rhythm section, Paul on bass, Ringo on drums, was bulletproof, one of the tightest in rock history. George Harrison. Ringo and George had an especially warm friendship. They co-wrote Photograph, and George often used Ringo on his solo records. Together as a band, the other three refused to replace Ringo even when conflicts arose, a testament to how essential he was. The Beatles were four corners of one shape, and without Ringo, it wouldn't have held. Drum Ringo Starr and his all-star band, Deep Dive, formed in 1989, this supergroup became a legendary touring tradition. Concept: every band member is a star. Everyone plays their hits. Every tour includes Ringo singing Beatles songs and solo hits, other members performing their own famous songs, Toto, Eagles, Santana, etc. Ringo rotating between drums and center stage. A few notable all-stars over the years: musician known for Joe Walsh, Eagles; Steve Lukather, Toto, Africa, Hold the Line, Sheila E. Prince, The Glamorous Life; Peter Frampton, Show Me the Way; Edgar Winter, Free Ride. Ringo turned touring into something joyful and communal, emphasizing fun over ego. Speech balloon. Iconic Ringo quotes: "I'm not the best drummer in the world, I'm the best drummer for the Beatles." Peace and love. Peace and love. Being in the Beatles is like being in the best band in the world, it's hard to go anywhere after that. Puzzle piece. Lesser known and fascinating facts: Ringo designed phrases like, "a hard day's night," and "tomorrow never knows," classic Ringo-isms that became song titles. He is responsible for the first rock drumming to feature intentional hi-hat looseness, allowing subtle swing and groove. He turned down an early acting offer to play James Bond's sidekick in Diamonds Are Forever. He hated guns. Mickey Mouse was based partly on the shape of his nose. This is a long-standing animator in joke, not officially credited, but referenced by Disney artists. Brain. Why drummers study Ringo. Modern drummers analyze Ringo's recordings for economy of movement, never wasted effort, tasteful fills that don't overtake the song, feel greater than flash approach, tone control. He tuned his drums lower and warmer than other rock drummers of the era. Questlove, The Roots, once said, "Ringo is the reason drummers started thinking about feel." Glowing Star legacy, expanded, Ringo Starr elevated drumming to storytelling. Became a symbol of peace in pop culture. Proved that kindness and humility can coexist with world-changing talent. His longevity, emotionally and musically, might be his greatest achievement. Drumming analysis. Song by song. Here are 5 Beatles songs where Ringo's drumming changed rock history, broken down in detail. 1. Rain, 1966, often considered Ringo's masterpiece. The drums were recorded at a faster tempo and then slowed down, creating a heavy, dreamy sound. His tom fills are fluid and melodic, almost like a lead instrument. He plays just behind the beat, giving the song a hypnotic pulse. Ringo once said it was his favorite drum performance on any Beatles track. 2. Ticket to Ride, 1965. The drum pattern was unusual for pop at the time, almost half-time. Ringo accents every other beat on the toms, which gives the song a lumbering, powerful feel. John Lennon praised the drum part as genius. 3. Come Together, 1969, minimal bass drum, sparse hi-hat, tight snare. His groove breathes, full of tiny hesitations and micro-timing choices. Modern drummers still study this track because you can't copy feel. 4. Here Comes the Sun, 1969, switches between 4/4, 3/4, and 5/8 time effortlessly. You don't notice the complexity because Ringo keeps it smooth and natural. He made difficult music sound easy. 5. A Day in the Life, 1967, emotional fills that lift and drop the mood. Those pauses and swells are not random, they serve the story of the song. Producer George Martin said the drum fills were perfect every take. Starr solo discography highlights Ringo has released 20+ solo studio albums, but here are the most important ones. Year album Notable Notes 1970 Sentimental Journey covers album. First post-Beatles release 1971 Beaucoup of Blues Country inspired. Recorded in Nashville 1973 Ringo Most Successful Solo LP. Features all ex-Beatles 1974 Good Night Vienna includes No Number Song and Only You. 1992 Present All-Star Band Live albums captures rotating Supergroup Tours 2021 to 2024 EP series. Ringo shifted to releasing shorter EPs major solo hits. Photograph It Don't Come Easy, Back Off Boogaloo, You're 16. Ringo is the only Beatle to have 2 #1 solo hits on the US charts immediately after the breakup. Person in Lotus Position Personal Philosophy, Peace, Love, Sobriety, Gratitude. After years of struggling with addiction in the 1970s and early 80s, Ringo got sober in 1988. He has lived clean ever since and often says it saved his life. He practices vegetarianism, meditation, transcendental meditation, daily affirmations of peace and gratitude. His mantra is now part of his identity. My message is peace and love. That's it. Every year on his birthday, fans around the world say, peace and love, at 12 noon, a spontaneous global celebration. Sparkle's rare, little-known facts, deep trivia. Ringo invented the title, A Hard Day's Night, accidentally by mixing up 2 phrases. He was the first Beatle to become a grandfather. His son Zach Starkey is a world-class drummer who played with The Who and Oasis. A crater on the Moon is named Star, International Astronomical Union. Ringo signs autographs with a rule, no photos. No dedications. Only peace and love. He is fiercely kind but also fiercely protective of his boundaries. Mike quotes about Ringo from other legends. Paul McCartney. Ringo's drumming is like poetry. Dave Grohl, Foo Fighters. If you don't like Ringo, you don't know drums. Phil Collins. Ringo is underrated. He defined the feel of rock. George Martin, Beatles producer. He was an absolutely wonderful drummer, not technically brilliant, but the best in the world at what he did. Bullseye Why Ringo Matters. Ringo Starr changed the perception of drummers. He made drums emotional, not mechanical. He showed feel matters more than flash. He became a symbol of joy, peace, humility, and humanity. He wasn't the best drummer in the world, he was the best drummer for the world's best band. Filmography plus TV appearances, detailed. The Beatles films. Year title Ringo's highlight 1964 A Hard Day's Night. Ringo steals the film with his solo wandering sequence. 1965 Help. Comedy adventure. Ringo's goofy charm drives the plot. 1967 Magical Mystery Tour improvisational and surreal. 1968 Yellow Submarine. Voice work done by actors, but based on real Beatles personas. Ringo's character is the heart of the movie. 1970 Let It Be documentary showing the final Beatles sessions. Post-Beatles acting career. Year film TV role. Notes 1971 200 Motels. Frank Zappa film. Plays a character named Larry the Dwarf. 1973 That'll Be the Day critically acclaimed. Ringo plays a cynical drifter. 1974 Son of Dracula stars as Merlin the Magician. 1981 Caveman meets future wife Barbara Bach on this film. 1984 Narrator, Thomas the Tank Engine, TV series, earns a new young generation of fans. Ringo was surprisingly natural on screen. Reviewers consistently noted his deadpan comedic timing. Compass Beatles timeline, Ringo focused, 1962 joins the Beatles. First single recorded with him, Love Me Do, second version. 1963 Beatlemania explodes. Ringo establishes himself as the fans' favorite personality. 1964 appears in A Hard Day's Night. World tour begins, first US visit. 1965 Help! Film. Ringo experiments with unconventional drumming in the studio. 1966 Ringo's breakthrough as a drummer. Rain, Tomorrow Never Knows. Stops touring, the Beatles focus on studio experimentation. 1967 Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Ringo begins taking more interest in photography and film. 1968 briefly quits during the White Album sessions because tensions are high. Paul, John, and George send him flowers on his drum kit to welcome him back. 1969 Records Abbey Road, the band's last studio collaboration, delivers one of his most famous drum solos in The End. 1970 Beatles break up. Ringo releases first solo album. Fire Top 20 Essential Ringo Performances. Beatles studio highlights, Rain, Peak Drumming, Come Together, Ticket to Ride, A Day in the Life, Tomorrow Never Knows, Strawberry Fields Forever, Here Comes the Sun, Dear Prudence. Ringo left. Paul played, proof of Ringo's importance. The End, rare Ringo drum solo. She Said, complex time signatures. Vocals, songs. Ringo sings Yellow Submarine, with a little help from my friends. Octopus's Garden, Act Naturally, solo, All-Star Era, Photograph, with George Harrison. It Don't Come Easy, Back Off Boogaloo, You're 16, No Number Song, Any Live All-Star Band version of With a Little Help from My Friends. Crowd becomes the choir, If You Want. I can make a YouTube playlist of these performances. Brain deeper personal philosophy. Ringo embraces gratitude, daily practice. Sobriety. He openly discusses his journey. Meditation, credits it with peace and emotional balance. Minimalism. He auctions possessions every few years. He once said, everything I own is just stuff. What matters is love. Puzzle piece. Why his legacy is unique. While other drummers were technical geniuses, Ringo was an emotional genius. He didn't show off. He listened. Modern drummers call this serving the song. Dave Grohl summed it up perfectly. Ringo is the king of feel. Without him, there's no groove. Later musical career and collaborations, 1990s to 2000s. After decades in the music world, Ringo continued releasing albums and collaborating with major artists. His 1992 album Time Takes Time was praised for its energetic sound and featured work with Jeff Lynne and Brian Wilson. Albums released in the 2000s, like Vertical Man, 1998, and Ringo Rama, 2003. Highlighted Ringo's playful rock and roll personality and often included tributes to friends and former bandmates, including the emotional track, Never Without You, written for George Harrison after his passing in 2001. Despite already being a legend, Ringo never became stagnant. He embraced new technology, social media, and even released EPs and albums during the 2020s. Showing an eagerness to remain creative and present. All-Star Band, a musical celebration. In 1989, Ringo launched his most enduring post-Beatles project, the All-Star Band, an ever-changing supergroup of rock legends. Members have included Joe Walsh, Eagles, Dr. John Peter Frampton, Sheila E. Steve Lukather, Toto, Todd Rundgren. Ringo created a format that allowed every member to perform hits from their own careers. The band toured the world across multiple decades, becoming one of the most unique and joyful live rock experiences, a celebration of camaraderie and musical history. Philanthropy and activism. Ringo has long been involved in charitable work. He supports organizations like Lotus Foundation, founded with his wife Barbara Bach, which focuses on addiction recovery, homelessness, cancer research, and child welfare. Public advocacy for non-violence and mental wellness. Numerous benefit concerts, including appearances at Concert for Bangladesh, 1971, and Live 8, 2005. Every year on his birthday, Ringo encourages a global tradition. At 12 o'clock noon, wherever you are, say, peace and love. Fans around the world and even NASA have participated. Art, photography, and creativity beyond music. Ringo Starr has become surprisingly influential in another field, digital art and photography. In the 2000s, he began creating colorful, whimsical computer-generated artworks, which have sold in galleries worldwide. Profits often go directly to charity. He also published photography books, including Photograph, giving fans a candid look into his private archives from the Beatles era. Personal life and relationships. Ringo married American actress and model Barbara Bach in 1981. The two met on the set of the film Caveman. Their marriage has endured for over 4 decades and is known in Hollywood as one of the most stable celebrity relationships. Ringo has 3 children, Zach, Jason, and Lee, from his previous marriage to Maureen Cox. Zach Starkey, his eldest son, became a respected drummer himself, performing with Oasis and The Who. Personality and public image. Ringo has always been known for warmth, humor, and humility. Even at the peak of Beatlemania, when the world treated him like royalty, he retained his grounded, working-class personality. Quotes that reflect his worldview. Time takes time. Peace and love, peace and love. When asked how he'd like to be remembered, as someone who was in the greatest band in the world, and as a really good drummer. Legacy. Ringo Starr's legacy is enormous. Revolutionized drumming style, moving beyond simple backbeat into melodic, inventive, understated craft that supported the song. Influenced countless drummers, from Dave Grohl to Phil Collins. Inducted twice into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, as a Beatle, 1988, and as a solo artist, 2015. He transformed the idea of the drummer from someone in the background into an essential personality, someone who could lead, sing, act, and inspire millions. As Paul McCartney famously said, "If Ringo's there, then it's the Beatles." Ringo Starr's drumming genius. Why musicians respect him. Even though drumming wasn't always seen as glamorous, Ringo changed the language of modern pop and rock drumming. His style was defined by musical intelligence. Ringo never overplayed. Instead of flashy solos, he served the song first. He listened intensely to vocals and melodies. His drumming was expressive. He treated the drum part as storytelling. Example, on A Day in the Life, his slow, heavy fills reflect the song's dreamy melancholy. Feel over technical complexity. Ringo's playing is famous for its natural groove. He was left-handed but played a right-handed drum kit. This resulted in unusual fill patterns. Many signature rolls are technically wrong, yet perfect. Drummers call this the Ringo swivel, a move where his elbow swings over to start certain fills. Innovation in recording techniques. Ringo helped pioneer studio methods that became standard. Innovation first widely used on Result tea towels on drums. Sgt. Pepper Thuddier. Warm sound with less ring, imitated for decades, close miking. The drum kit Abbey Road sessions allowed more punch and precision in rock recordings. Experimental cymbal use, Tomorrow Never Knows. Cymbals used as eerie textures, not just accents. Producer George Martin often said, Ringo was the perfect drummer for the Beatles. Mike Ringo as a singer. The charming voice of the Beatles. Ringo's singing was never technical. It was real, sweet, and relatable. His Beatles vocal highlights include With a Little Help from My Friends, Yellow Submarine, Octopus's Garden, Act Naturally. Paul McCartney wrote With a Little Help from My Friends specifically for Ringo, knowing his voice would make the song emotionally honest. And it worked. The song became an anthem of friendship. Wave relationship with each Beatle. Ringo and John Lennon. John valued Ringo's spontaneity and humor. Ringo was one of the people John trusted most. Ringo was also the first Beatle to visit Yoko and Sean after John's death in 1980. Ringo and Paul McCartney. Musically, they had the tightest partnership, bassist and drummer, locked together. Even today, when Ringo appears at Paul's concerts or vice versa, it becomes emotional. Paul said, Ringo is the heart of the band. Ringo and George Harrison. Ringo and George shared a deep spiritual connection and a calming friendship. George wrote Photograph with Ringo, one of Starr's biggest solo hits. Ringo was by George's side at the hospital during the last months of 2001, holding his hand. Their friendship remained gentle and unshakable. Mike. Why other musicians worship Ringo. Famous drummers praise his timing, taste, and tone. Dave Grohl. Ringo is the king of feel. Max Weinberg, Bruce Springsteen's drummer, he invented modern rock drumming. Phil Collins. Everything he played was just right. Even jazz drummers with advanced technical skill admit they study Ringo to understand groove. Dove. Public persona, humor, honesty, simplicity. Ringo never pretended to be anything other than who he was. He made the peace sign a symbol of his identity. He signs autographs with peace and love. He jokes constantly, a natural comedian. Ringo distilled his outlook into 3 words, peace and love. He lives it every day. Glowing star. The legacy of Ringo Starr. Ringo Starr transformed what it means to be a drummer. From background musician to essential band personality, from rhythm keeper to creative artist, he's not just part of history, he changed how history sounds.
Bye bye, thanks for watching. Bye.